Hey, how's it going? My name is Gareth James. Welcome back to MTT Poker School. Now, in the last video, I went through what to think about on the flop in this hand where I opened up from the cutoff with 23 bigs, folds to the big blind, and he makes the call. The flop comes king, seven, deuce, two hearts. Big blind checks, I bet two bigs, and the big blind calls. Now, I definitely recommend watching the last video so you're up to date on the two ranges that get this far. So I'll put a link up at the top of your screen right now, and also in the description down below. The turn is the ace of hearts, and the big blind checks. So once the big blind goes ahead and calls, if we have a look at the equity, you can see out of position has 54%, and in position, that's us now, has 46%. If we go back to before any bets went in on the flop, you can see out of positions equity was around 37% and in positions was 63%. So you can see there's been a big shift in who has the equity advantage now. If we select the turn card then, that was the ace of hearts. And then have a look at equities again. You can see all of a sudden, though, it's gone back to out of position now having around 45% equity and in position having 55% equity. So the ace of hearts specifically means that the in position has the equity advantage here. We click up here then, click on analysis and then run out EV comparison, drag this window in. Then we can look at in position equity and we can see that the ace of hearts, pretty good card, but the ace of spades, the ace of diamonds and the ace of clubs really are the standout cards in this range. If we look at like a 2 or a 7 though, they're pretty bad. And if you think back to what the big blind's range looked like after calling the flop, it was lots of 7x and 2x. So let's take a look at Range Explorer. And we're going to click on select none and two pair plus, and now you can see that there are flushes possible as well on this turn card. And so out of position has 22.4% of two pair plus. That's 22.4% of their overall range. And then the in position has 16.5%. So out of position now goes ahead in terms of having those, really strong hands, significantly strong hands. Okay, so if we select that the big blind checks and then click on strategy, we can have a look at what our strategy is supposed to look like in this spot. So we're checking around 47% and betting 53%. And you can kind of eyeball the strategy here. So you can see, for example, like 8 plus just wants to go ahead and to check. But then we're betting with some ace X and like third set and hands like that. So let's just bring up Range Explorer and see what we're doing with different parts of our range. So you can see flushes mainly going ahead and betting, doing some checking with some King X hands here and some 10X here. Let's get to sets, and you can see aces and kings going ahead and checking, but sevens going ahead and betting. I mean, if you think about this, if we have top set or second set, we're blocking a lot of our opponent's continues here. So we are choosing to go ahead and check back here. Sevens here completely unblocking, King X and Ace X. Two pairs mainly going ahead and betting, but King 7 suited going for the check back. Top pair then pretty much a mix. So you can see that if you look at like Ace Queen suited, then Ace Queen of spades is going for the check back. Again, probably to do with the blockers. So if you think about the Queen of Spades is going to block a lot of the big blinds floats here that will then just go ahead and fold. Also, we want to be able to check back some Ace X hands on the turn so that we have some pretty strong hands to call on the river. But yeah, you can see a similar pattern with the spades getting checked back a bit more frequently. Once you get to Ace 9 though, it starts checking pretty, a lot. Ace 8 suited, Ace 6, same thing as we move on through here. And then once we get to Ace 3 suited, wants to go ahead and bet again. And when it gets to Ace Queen, we're definitely looking to bet more with a heart than without it. The same goes for Ace Jack, Ace 10. You can see in the bottom right hand corner. So when we've got the 9 of hearts in this spot, we're betting a lot more frequently. And I talked about this in the turn video for the last part where we looked at what you're supposed to do from the big blind's point of view. And we said that, in position doesn't want to bet too many Ace X hands in this situation, because if the big blind then jams, they're going to have to fold, a decent chunk of them. So what happens is the way that PioSolver is doing this is it's taking a lot of hands with a heart that can comfortably bet call this turn. And the same goes with all of these as well. When we get to second pair, then again, like a decent amount of betting and checking, so 50-50. These top ones, again, king, queen, king, jack, just going ahead and checking back. And then once again, you can see king X with a heart liking to go ahead and bet. And then king 9, we are going ahead and betting, fairly frequently. King 6 and king 5 just going for the check back. We get to third pair then, just pure check. Low pairs, 6s, 5s and 4s. Presumably, we're now turning these hands into bluffs. And then we can look at nothing, and a lot of these hands are going to be bluffs as well. So you can have semi-bluffs here with the queen jack and the jack 10 and the queen 10. And the same with some of these, it will be gut shots and flush draws. And then you have some hands down here that really don't have anything, so they're just trying to target a lot of 7x and 2x hands to fold. Let's have a look at combo draws then, and a decent amount of checking here. 75% check and 25% bet. Flush draws, a decent amount of betting, but interestingly, we already talked about 8s through aces being checked. And you can see that a pair with a heart is just going ahead and checking back. But, we already saw, like I said, that 8s through aces is checking back whether it has the heart or not. And then all of these hands as well, like these are going to be a pair plus a flush draw, just good enough equity to go ahead and to bet call. Let's have a look at gut shots then, and this is where a lot of betting is coming from. And you can see like queen jack suited, queen jack off, the hands that don't have the heart are just going ahead and betting very, very frequently. So on this particular card, only one bet size is used. You can see up here we've got bet 400 and check, and roughly it's looking like around 40% bet here, and we've got like 40%, 80%, 120% and jam. And you can see that on the ace of hearts we're just liking the 40% bet. If we go up here again, click on analysis and runouts EV, we can click on strategy. And you can see that on hearts, it's always going for the small sizing. That's what this looks like here, this sort of light pink color. But then there is some bigger betting going on different cards. So for example, like the 3 of clubs, we're suddenly going for a bigger bet a decent chunk of the time. Okay, so if we hover over jack 10 suited here, you can see that hearts, so the flush, wants to bet around 62% and check 38. When it comes to diamonds and clubs, you can see they're doing the same thing. So no diamonds or clubs on the board. And you can see they're betting small 76% and checking back around 23, 24%. And then when it comes to the hand that we actually had, jack 10 of spades, you can see that it's actually checking back a lot more frequently, only betting around 44% and checking 56%. Now, if we're trying to work out why that's happening, I would say that, again, it's because it's blocking a lot of our opponent's folding range. And we never really want to block our opponent's folding range when we're bluffing. So I decided to bet this time, and the big blind calls. Okay, so if we click here that we bet 400, you can now see the kind of hands that are going ahead and folding. So we're just going to eyeball this sort of strategy page here. You can see 2x now really can't continue. 7x has to do a lot of folding. We've got these 7x here. It's going to be 7x with a heart that's continuing, and then 7x without a heart. So, we don't need to go too big on the turn. One of the questions in one of the last videos was, why don't we bet bigger to try and get more hands to fold when we're bluffing? But actually, we don't need to do that. We can bet 400 and get the same job done, or 4 big blinds in this example. Let's take a look at the other hands that are continuing then, because we want to see what our opponent is calling with. So we'll click on strat again, and they're doing a decent amount of calling with flushes and raising other ones. You can see that if it's pretty strong, then it's going for the call, and then these weaker ones are going for the raise, although, as with a lot of things in Pio, that idea just gets thrown out the water straight away because there's some weaker flushes being called here as well. 2 pair then, ace deuce is in the calling range, but then all the other 2 pairs going for a raise or a jam, so it's pretty interesting to see. Top pair is just going for the call mainly, never folding, and there's a bit of raising with ace 8 with a heart. Comes to second pair, a lot of calling, bit of raising with king 4 with a king of hearts. Third pair then, lots of folding now. This is the 7x we were talking about. I think in practice the 9-7 and 8-7 would just fold. And then you can see here the offsuit 7x has to have a heart to be able to continue. And this is something that I looked at in one of the previous videos as well, that 7-3 suited is going to be a raise fold in this spot. Low pairs then just going ahead and folding. When it comes to nothing, a decent amount of folding, But you know, gut shots and flush draws, so combo draws in this example, continuing either by calling or by raising. So again, we're trying to focus on what hands would call, and here's a good example, Queen Jack with a heart. So combo draws, again, Queen Jack with a heart is going to appear in there, and there's some Queen 10 with a heart too. Flush draws then, a decent amount of calling, some folding going on now with these, as you can see on screen. But yeah, you can see that it's basically a pair plus a flush draw is the kind of hand that would continue in this spot for a call. And then when it comes to 4-out straight draws, just going ahead and folding now. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Having the Jack 10 of spades just blocks the Queen Jack of spades and the Queen 10 of spades. And it also blocks Queen Jack off with a Jack of spades and Jack 10 off with the 10 of spades. All right, so that's where we're going to wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it and got a lot out of this analysis. If you haven't done so already and you like this video, then make sure you give it a thumbs up. And also make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't done that already as well. I'll be back in a few days to analyze the river. But until then, guys, take care and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.